So we're starting on the patio, which runs the full width of the house, and as you can see is pretty narrow because of all the pots stood on there. And round to the right, and we have a couple of little steps which we walk down and into the path which leads through the shrubbery. Nice shady area at this time. Some of it is quite full and some of it we've got a few gaps. On the right there, a nice choice here in full bloom now. And a lot of bluebells, which are a bit of a nuisance, but at this time of year make a nice lot of colour. And the first of our deciduous azaleas just coming into bloom. Hellebores still in bloom. And a viburnum there, which has got a beautiful scent. Nice little clump of tulips. Clematis. And polyanthus, all a nice bit of colour. And then if we go on down the path, we come to a fork in the path. To the right would take us into the vegetable garden, which I'll show you later. And then to the left we go past the rockery and the pond, which is an eyesore at the moment because we've had to put makeshift netting over it to stop the herons. One of the jobs on our list, and into the best vista of the garden. This is the part of the garden which is basically under control and beginning to have a bit of colour in it. Bunch of daffs there in the lawn that are now over. Herbaceous border at this time of the year is not got a lot of colour in it, but there's a lot of plants coming through there that hopefully in a few weeks' time will be giving us a nice lot of colour. So back to the pond. As you can see, it is an eyesore, so that is top of our priority list once the greenhouse is done. And we've got a bridge that goes over the middle of the pond. And as you can see, some of the fish there. Nice white koi. Go on over the bridge and into the section which we lovingly call the woody bit. Very descriptive name for it. And again, a bit of a mess at the moment because things have been dumped in there while we've been doing our major project, which is our new greenhouse, which you'll see in a minute. So this is all needs tidying up, so that's on the list. I've got some colour in there, as you can see. There's some quite a lot of camellias, and again lots of bluebells. They're a bit of a nuisance, but quite pretty. And a lovely dogwood, which has got lovely colour in the winter even when you haven't got any leaves on there. So we then go through a gate and into the vegetable garden from this direction. Some glass stood there from the old greenhouse, which we're hoping to sell on eBay one day. And here is the new greenhouse as it stands. That's what it looked like before the lockdown, and there it is now. We'd had the far end already done. To the left of the greenhouse, as we were looking at, is a little orchard area. Again, a lot of stuff dumped there while we've been doing the greenhouse. Not a lot in the greenhouse this end at the moment, as you can see. So why do we need such a large greenhouse? Well, this is the end that was finished just before the frosts last autumn, and you can see it's pretty chock-a-block. At the moment it's got vegetables and tender stuff in there. Eventually one end will be vegetables, one end will be tender stuff. In the middle there's a bird of paradise plant which my husband grew from seed. And this large plant is a pomegranate which I grew from seed. So we've got all sorts of decorative stuff here. We have chrysanthemums later in the year. And then to the left of the greenhouse is the first of the vegetable plots. If we turn 90 degrees to the greenhouse, we've got the path which runs across the bottom of our garden, a thicket on the left which needs attention, that's also on the list. First of the paths between the vegetable plots, and this plot has the manure crops, so that was broad beans there, and this is all stuff waiting to be planted out. This is stuff that I've sown during the lockdown, potted on during the lockdown, so this is some of the things that I've been up to. There's peas, broad beans and greens there, and then along the bottom path to the second of our plots, this is potatoes this year. This is last year's manure crops and potatoes now. Those trenches that you can see there, you'll see them in a minute. The potatoes are planted down the trenches, and then we earth them up by filling in the trenches first. And still some leeks left there from last year, so they are due for coming up and using. Rhubarb pots there. The barriers there are to stop the cats, foxes and badgers. The badger got all our sweet corn a couple of years running, so we now have to produce quite sturdy barriers to stop them getting there. That's our side fence, and purple sprouting and white sprouting broccoli there, plants you can see. So if we go back to the third plot, that's this year's greens plot, and you can see that's our spring cabbage just beginning to heart up, so it'll be ready hopefully before too much longer. Path between that plot and the roots plot is the fourth plot there. It was last year's greens plot, hence we have the sprouting broccoli at the end of it. Those plants are almost as tall as we are, and they've produced quite a lot. And this year's roots plot, so we have kohlrabi seedlings coming through there. We've sown those. I dug all of this over, and raked it all, and I've sown those. That's beetroot coming through. And you can see this net tent. This is our carrot tent. We have to do this. It's got 6 rows of carrots in there. If we didn't put that tent over them, the carrot root fly would just ruin the crop. We don't get any carrots without putting that over. And then parsnips on the end just coming through. And at the back of that there's a concrete shed with thornless loganberry and blackberries trained along it. Well, not so well trained, that's another thing on the list. And we go back through to the path that we came down. If you recognise this now, if you turn to the right, that was where we went earlier, around the pond, little bog garden there, and back the other way up the path that we originally came down, and back into the shrubbery. So that is Cross Towers, as my brother used to lovingly call it, and I'll leave you with a nice shot of our first rhododendron in bloom.